For decades, tensions between the United States and Iran have been one of the most dangerous hotspots in global geopolitics. From economic sanctions and naval confrontations to covert operations, the relationship between the two nations has been constantly shrouded in suspicion and strategic competition. However, current events indicate that the confrontation has entered a more intense phase than ever before. With increasing direct military activity and the potential expansion of the conflict to the entire Middle East region, according to numerous military sources and international media, the conflict has entered its 13th day, with a series of new attacks from the U.S.-led coalition targeting what are believed to be strategically important targets in Iranian territory. Simultaneously, Tehran has deployed various retaliatory measures, from drone attacks to tactics aimed at pressuring vital shipping lanes. Against this backdrop, the Middle East continues to play a central role in the crisis, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important oil shipping route. Every day, vast quantities of crude oil and natural gas from the Gulf must pass through this narrow channel before reaching global markets. Even a minor disruption could send shockwaves through the world energy market. Amidst escalating tensions, a shocking event occurred in the Iranian city of Qom. A massive explosion ripped through the night sky, creating a giant column of smoke resembling a mushroom cloud. Images quickly spread on social media, raising numerous questions. Was it an accident, a conventional attack, or the appearance of a special weapon? This mysterious explosion is now the focus of attention, as many experts believe it may be the result of a carefully calculated military strategy and a weapon with destructive power far exceeding what is commonly seen on the battlefield. The explosion in the city of Qom quickly became the focus of attention for military observers worldwide. In the quiet darkness of the night, a massive explosion suddenly ripped through the sky, creating a giant column of smoke that rose hundreds of meters into the air. Initial images showed the smoke erupting violently, spreading and gradually forming a mushroom-like cloud, a shape often associated with exceptionally powerful explosions. In a short time, videos of the event spread rapidly on social media, attracting millions of views and raising countless questions internationally. Many initially even suspected it might be a nuclear explosion, although there was no evidence to confirm that hypothesis. However, for military experts, a noteworthy detail emerged in the videos. The entire event appeared to consist of only a single massive explosion, with no secondary chain reaction, typically seen when ammunition or fuel depots are detonated. This led many analysts to lean towards the possibility that it was the result of a single, extremely powerful weapon. One of the most frequently mentioned hypotheses is the use of a GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator bunker-busting bomb. This is one of the most powerful non-nuclear bombs ever developed, specifically designed to destroy targets deep underground. The bomb weighs approximately 13.6 tons and is constructed with an extremely hard casing, allowing it to penetrate dozens of meters of concrete or rock before detonating. Unlike conventional bombs that detonate upon impact, the GBU-57 is designed to penetrate deep underground, reaching protected facilities within fortified bunkers before activating its warhead. Therefore, this weapon is often considered a sledgehammer for targets that conventional bombs cannot destroy, such as underground command centers, strategic weapons depots, or facilities related to Iran's nuclear program. For many years, the GBU-57 has been mentioned as a crucial tool in scenarios involving attacks on Iran's heavily fortified nuclear facilities. The next question is why Qom was chosen as the target. On the surface, it is one of Iran's holiest cities and a major religious center of the Shiite Muslim world. It houses numerous theological academies, mosques, and religious institutions that significantly influence the political system of the Islamic Republic. However, according to numerous analytical reports over the years, the area surrounding Qom is also believed to contain important military facilities and underground structures. Some sources suggest that the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has built deep underground bunkers in the area. It's designed to protect strategic command centers in the event of war. Furthermore, experts suspect that these facilities may be related to sensitive activities of Iran's nuclear program, including underground laboratories or centrifuge systems. If these hypotheses are correct, targeting Qom would not only have significant military implications, but also immense symbolic value, demonstrating that even Iran's most secure locations can become targets of attack. To deploy a weapon like the GBU-57, strategic bomber platforms capable of carrying large payloads and approaching targets undetected by air defenses are typically required. In the U.S. arsenal, the aircraft often mentioned in these scenarios is the B-2 Spirit, the renowned stealth bomber of the U.S. Air Force. The B-2 is designed with advanced stealth technology, allowing it to minimize radar detection when entering enemy airspace. Thanks to its distinctive wing design and radar-absorbing coating, this aircraft can fly deep into heavily protected territory before precisely dropping its weapons on the target. When carrying the GBU-57, the B-2 can approach the target area at a carefully calculated altitude and distance, then drop the guided bombs using GPS navigation. Once released, the bomb will plummet at extremely high speed, penetrating layers of concrete or rock before exploding at a depth sufficient to completely destroy underground structures. It is this combination of stealth technology and powerful penetrating weaponry that makes the B-2 one of the most formidable strategic strike vehicles in the U.S. arsenal. However, if the hypothesis of using bunker-busting bombs is correct, the significance of this attack could go far beyond a simple act of destroying a military target. In modern warfare, airstrikes on strategic command centers or bunkers often carry immense symbolic weight. They not only aim to eliminate the enemy's battlefield operational capabilities, but also send a powerful, psychological message. The fact that a facility believed to be deep underground and heavily fortified could still be accurately targeted shows that no location is completely safe. This could put significant pressure on Iran's military and political leadership, forcing them to reconsider their strategy in the context of escalating conflict. Therefore, the explosion at Qom is not only a shocking military event, but also a sign that the confrontation between the two sides is entering a new phase. If reports of the type of weapons used are accurate, this could be seen as a clear strategic warning in modern high-tech warfare. Even the deepest bunkers are no longer absolute refuge, and that message is likely not only directed at underground targets, but also straight at those in decision-making power within Iran's leadership. Following the devastating explosion in Qom, the conflict did not subside, but instead entered a more complex phase. While the U.S. and its allies continued to maintain military pressure, with precision airstrikes targeting strategically important targets, Iran also began deploying a familiar but highly effective counter-strategy, asymmetrical warfare. Instead of directly confronting the superior military power of its adversaries, Tehran opted for flexible, low-cost methods of combat that could have a significant economic and psychological impact. This is an approach Iran has pursued for many years, particularly in conflicts in the Middle East, where it often used proxy forces, inexpensive weapons, and unpredictable tactics to pressure its opponents. One of the most prominent tools in this strategy is unmanned aerial vehicles UAVs, especially the Shade UAV series. In recent years, the Shade has become a symbol of low-cost drone warfare. These UAVs are typically designed as suicide drones, carrying explosives and crashing directly into targets. With significantly lower production costs compared to cruise missiles or fighter jets, the Shade allows Iran to deploy large numbers of attacks without incurring a heavy financial burden. Furthermore, their relatively small size and ability to fly at low altitudes make them more difficult to detect and intercept for many traditional air defense systems. In several recent conflicts in the Middle East, the Shade has been used to attack military bases, energy infrastructure, and even civilian targets. Iran's continued reliance on this weapon demonstrates its attempt to bridge the military technology gap with its rivals through a quantity over quality strategy. However, a more significant threat in the current situation comes from a previously undermentioned type of vehicle, underwater drones. According to several military sources, Iran may be deploying an underwater unmanned vehicle called the Asta UVA, essentially. This device operates much like a smart torpedo. It can be launched from ships or from secret launch platforms, then travel underwater for hours or even days before reaching its target. Upon approaching an oil tanker or commercial vessel, the device detonates its explosive charge, causing a powerful explosion upon impact. The biggest advantage of this weapon is its stealth capability. Unlike airborne drones, which can be detected by radar or defense systems, Underwater drones are virtually invisible to many conventional surveillance systems. This makes defense much more complex, especially in busy shipping lanes. The importance of this strategy becomes even clearer when considering the geographical location of the Strait of Hormuz. It is one of the most crucial strategic choke points in the global economy. Every day, tens of millions of barrels of crude oil and natural gas from Gulf countries must pass through this narrow waterway before reaching markets in Asia, Europe, and other regions. It is estimated that 20 to 30% of the world's traded oil is transported through the Strait of Hormuz. This means that even a serious disruption in this area could throw the global energy market into chaos. Therefore, for many years, Iran has considered Hormuz one of its most important strategic assets. By destabilizing this shipping lane, Tehran can exert significant economic pressure, not only on the US and its allies, but also on the entire global energy market. Recent developments suggest that this strategy is gradually being implemented. Over the past few days, numerous reports have emerged of attacks on oil tankers operating near the Strait of Hormuz. Several vessels believed to be linked to US and Greek companies had been targeted, with some even catching fire after being struck. While details about the perpetrators remain unconfirmed, many experts suspect the attacks may involve underwater drones or suicide drones. These incidents immediately triggered a strong reaction in the energy market. World oil prices began to rise again, as investors worried that this vital shipping route could become more dangerous in the near future. Shipping companies also began reconsidering the routes of their oil tankers, as any risks in Hormuz could cause significant financial losses. In response, the US and its regional allies quickly intensified their military response. Numerous airstrikes were conducted targeting objectives believed to be linked to Iran's offensive capabilities. According to published information, targets included missile launchers, weapons depots, military airfields, and critical logistical facilities. Several videos released by the US military also showed Iranian fighter jets and military equipment destroyed on the ground. In addition, facilities believed to be used for storing or transporting drones were also among the targets. The goal of these airstrikes was not only to destroy weapons, but also to weaken Iran's ability to resupply and coordinate operations. Furthermore, US and allied naval forces increased their presence in the Persian Gulf to protect shipping lanes. Warships, patrol aircraft, and advanced surveillance systems are deployed to detect threats early, from airborne UAVs to underwater unmanned vehicles. However, even with this strong military presence, completely securing shipping lanes remains a major challenge. Even a small number of successful attacks would be enough to create instability and disrupt trade. All these developments indicate that the battlefield of the conflict is gradually expanding from land to sea. While the US relies on technological prowess and precision airstrikes, Iran leverages its geographical position and asymmetrical warfare tactics to exert pressure. This is an asymmetrical confrontation, where each side seeks to exploit its own advantages. And in that context, the Strait of Hormuz is becoming one of the world's most dangerous hotspots, where even a minor incident can have major consequences for the global economy and security. As the confrontation between the US and Iran continues to escalate, one of the biggest concerns for international analysts is the risk of conflict no longer being confined to the Middle East. Amidst increasing airstrikes and military operations, there are signs that both sides are preparing for scenarios that could expand the battlefield further afield. In particular, recent statements from Iran regarding the possibility of conducting drone attacks outside the Middle East have drawn significant attention. From Western security agencies, one of the most worrying scenarios is the possibility of Iran attempting to deploy attack drones near the US coast, possibly even off the coast of California. According to several intelligence reports cited in the media, Tehran may be considering unconventional attack methods targeting objectives outside the direct battlefield area. The most frequently discussed idea is using commercial or container ships to transport drones far out into the ocean before deploying them from a distance closer to shore. In this scenario, the UAVs could be pre-placed in special containers, then activated when the ship approaches a pre-calculated location. A swarm of drones could then be launched into the air and fly towards coastal targets such as seaports, energy infrastructure, or even military bases. This is an attack method that worries many security experts because it leverages the global trade system as a cover. Thousands of commercial ships travel on international shipping lanes every day, and detecting a weaponized vessel among them can be an extremely difficult task. Besides the element of surprise, launching drones in large waves could also put significant pressure on defense systems. In modern warfare, a common tactic is to use inexpensive UAVs in a swarm formation, meaning launching many devices simultaneously to overwhelm the enemy's interception system. Even if the majority of drones are shot down, a few that manage to penetrate the defenses can still inflict significant damage on the target. Therefore, the combination of surprise and mass attack tactics makes this scenario a serious threat. However, upon closer analysis, many military experts also believe that implementing such a campaign in practice would face numerous challenges. First and foremost is the logistical issue. To deploy a drone attack from thousands of kilometers away, Iran would need a sufficiently robust command, control, and communication system to coordinate the UAVs after they are launched. This requires not only advanced technology, but also a complex support network. Furthermore, transporting and preparing containers containing drones on commercial ships also carries the risk of detection before an attack is carried out. Amidst rising tensions, U.S. security agencies and the Navy will undoubtedly increase surveillance of maritime transport activities, especially in areas near their territory. Another crucial factor is the U.S. defense system. For decades, the U.S. has built a multi-layered defense network encompassing long-range radar, satellite surveillance systems, and rapidly responding naval and air units. Fighter jets, warships, and missile defense systems are deployed in numerous strategic areas to detect and intercept threats from afar. In addition, U.S. defense forces are developing new technologies to counter UAVs. From low-cost missile systems to directed energy weapons such as lasers or microwaves, this means that any drone attack on U.S. territory would face a dense and well-organized defense network. Beyond the military aspect, the current confrontation is also taking place on another equally important front: psychological and information warfare. Amid escalating conflict, both sides are seeking to use media to bolster domestic morale and pressure the other. In Iran, state media continuously broadcasts tough messages, emphasizing that the country is prepared for a protracted confrontation and will retaliate against any attack. Images of religious and military leaders are used as symbols of resilience, aiming to maintain social unity. However, alongside the official messages, rumors began circulating about the internal workings of Iran's leadership. Some sources suggested that the airstrikes targeting sensitive areas may have put significant pressure on the military command. While there was no clear confirmation, these rumors spread widely on social media, creating an atmosphere of informational instability. In modern warfare, such factors can sometimes significantly impact the morale of both the military and the civilian population. Meanwhile, from a strategic perspective, the disparity in military strength between the two sides remains a very clear factor. The United States possesses one of the world's most powerful air forces, capable of precision strikes from very long distances. Stealth bombers, next-generation fighter jets, and advanced guided weapon systems allow the U.S. military to conduct airstrikes with high accuracy, minimizing risks to its forces. Furthermore, the ability to coordinate air, sea, and cyber forces creates a significant advantage in large-scale military operations. For Iran, this means facing increasing pressure on its military system. Repeated airstrikes, targeting airfields, weapons depots, and logistical facilities could weaken its ability to sustain operations over the long term. Therefore, a strategy based on asymmetric warfare and indirect attack methods will likely remain Tehran's primary choice in the coming period. All these factors indicate that the current conflict is not merely a regional war, but also carries the risk of spreading globally. A single, uncontrolled escalation, such as an attack on the territory of a major power or a major incident on an oil shipping route, could rapidly alter the situation. And in a world increasingly interdependent economically and energetically, any upheaval in the Middle East could have far-reaching consequences, extending beyond the region itself. Overall, what is happening shows that the confrontation between the U.S. and Iran has entered a much more dangerous and unpredictable phase than before. Attacks are no longer limited to isolated acts of deterrence, but are becoming increasingly systematic. with the clear goal of weakening the opponent's military capabilities and strategic operational capacity. From the U.S. and its allies, the strategy appears to focus on precision strikes targeting Iranian military power centers, command centers, airfields, weapons depots, and critical infrastructure. By utilizing technological superiority, particularly precision-guided weapons and stealth aircraft, Washington is attempting to exert maximum pressure on Tehran's military system without resorting to a large-scale ground war. Conversely, Iran continues to maintain its familiar strategy, asymmetrical warfare, instead of directly confronting the superior military power of the United States. Tehran has chosen indirect methods of pressure such as drone attacks, naval operations, and tactics to destabilize strategic shipping lanes. In this context, two major risks are attracting particular attention from observers. First, the possibility of Iran continuing to pressure the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important energy shipping route. A serious disruption in this area could cause significant volatility in the global oil market. Second, the risk of drone attacks extending beyond the Middle East, even targeting targets at great distances. However, the biggest question remains, what path will Iran choose in the next phase? One possibility is that Tehran will be forced to de-escalate tensions if its military and logistical infrastructure continues to weaken. But it cannot be ruled out that this country will continue to escalate the situation with new, asymmetrical tactics to pressure its rivals. The answer to that question may determine whether the current crisis remains a regional conflict or will become a confrontation with far-reaching implications for the entire international security order.